Matiba, even about the negotiations, right at the negotiation table. I was the one who felt that we had over-negotiated. In the process, we lost it.
Because the Nelson we are celebrating now is not the Nelson we celebrated before prison and during prison. It's a staged, managed Nelson Mandela.
You say that former President Nelson Mandela is a sellout. Why?
Even General Adolf Hitler was much better than Nelson Mandela. He did something for the Germans by purging the Jews. It is because of this Nelson Mandela that even in South Africa, the Jews and the white settlers, they don't even respect our human rights. They exploit our wealth and exploit our labor in this country.
Hello, kings and queens. I am the Kenyan Beast, of course. We are doing it the African way every day, every time. First, I'm starting this video by humbly requesting you to join my membership. Be the ambassador of Africa. Be the ambassador of good news from Africa. You can subscribe to and like the video. Now, I'm going to talk about something sensitive. This video, I came across it, and it was about Nelson Mandela, Winnie Mandela. May God rest their soul. There is a video I came across of Winnie Mandela talking about how Nelson Mandela sell out the country of South Africa. She was talking about how Nelson Mandela over-negotiated things that have effect to the country of South Africa. And it was like, wow, this was too over-negotiating. Let's see this video and then we're going to talk about it.
I wanted them, as we were beginning to talk to the Neil Banners of the day, you must have still been a baby, probably you're not even born yet. But we quarreled with Matiba even about the negotiations, right at the negotiation table. I was the one who felt that we had over-negotiated. In the process, we lost it. And I warned at the time that we over-negotiated, and the truth was we may have lost the land again in the process. Our struggle was a struggle for land. It was all about the return of the land to the owners of the land, not the silly notion of driving the white man to the sea, the notion of fighting back to get back our land. And the problem at the time, which I foresaw, and we disagreed with Matiba over it, to say, yes, you say, let us negotiate. In the process of negotiation, we say the land belongs to all who live in it. The doors of landing shall be open. Now, how were we going to buy the land back from those who had stolen it? Because we were not going to seize the land back without compensation. There would have been grave consequences if we had done that. The bloodbath would still be continuing to this day. I believed that perhaps something went wrong when we were negotiating, when we over-negotiated, and we could have probably reached other decisions other than the willing seller, willing buyer. What were we going to buy the land with? Because in order for us to buy the land back,
That is the video of Winnie Mandela talking about how the negotiation went on, and sometimes she felt like they over-negotiated and the deal was not for the favorism of the people of South Africa, because she was saying their negotiation, they were first wanting the lands of the South Africans to go back to their owners, the lands that the colonial system had taken away from the people, get it back to the people. But along the negotiation, she felt like they are going astray. And that's where Nelson Mandela sold out the country of South Africa. A narrative is going on over and over. Nelson Mandela is one of the greatest celebrated leader from Africa. And we are learning that from history. But not all of the people of South Africa agrees that Nelson Mandela, Madiba was the hero. Some of them are supporting the narrative of Nelson Mandela sold South Africa. At a time, Les Malema talked about this. Let's listen to this and then we continue.
Why did Nelson Mandela sell out the Freedom Charter? When Nelson Mandela returned from prison, he got separated with Winnie Mandela and went to stay in a house of the rich white men. He was looked after by the Oppenheimers. Nelson Mandela used to attend the club meetings of those white men who owned the South African economy at the time. He stayed in their complex. He stayed with them. He stayed in one of their houses. They had access to him 24 hours. And they told him that what he represents will not be achieved. And then that's when he turned against himself. Because the Nelson we are celebrating now is not the Nelson we celebrated before prison and during prison. It's a staged, managed Nelson Mandela who compromised the fundamental principles of the revolution, which are well captured in the Freedom Charter. The EFF subscribed to the Freedom Charter. The Freedom Charter has got a detailed explanation of how everything else is going to be achieved. The Freedom Charter is the Bible of the South African Revolution. Any deviation from that is a sellout position. So, unlike Nelson Mandela, we're doing what Nelson Mandela didn't do.
Let's welcome Sellouts, spokesperson of PACO. What does PACO stand for? Pan-Africanist Youth Congress of Azania. Good morning to you, Sello, and welcome.
Morning, radio and to listeners of Cape Radio 702.
Thank you. You say that former President Nelson Mandela is a sellout. Why?
Even General Adolf Hitler was much better than Nelson Mandela. He did something for the Germans by caging the Jews. It is because of this Nelson Mandela that even in South Africa, the Jews and the white settlers, they don't even respect our human rights. They exploit our wealth and exploit our labor in this country. It was the Nelson Mandela that who spearheaded the Freedom Charter, and actually he even rubber-stamped the 1913 Land Act by adopting the Freedom Charter, even the role that he played in CODESA by making sure that the property rights of the minority are protected by the fundamental demands of the African people. We know that even today we remain dispossessed.
That is Julius Malema explaining how Nelson Mandela sold the country to the white supremacy. Explaining how Nelson Mandela was a sellout. Explaining how when Nelson Mandela came from the prison, he was not the same Nelson Mandela before he went to prison. A lot of people believe that Nelson Mandela died in the prison and the Nelson Mandela that came out was totally different, was a puppet, was a sellout, was a person with the interest of the white, not the interest that he went on in. What's your comment? What do you think? A lot of us was not there, maybe, like me, but the people who are watching this video, a lot of you were there at those times. What do you think if you're watching from South Africa? Do you think Nelson Mandela did a great job in South Africa, or do you think he was a sellout? Because this video is about discussion. Please don't feel angry. We are talking about Africa, African way, and we are deepening our souls today in South Africa. Now, on my opinion, when I sit down and listen to the praises of Nelson Mandela, when I sit down and listen even to the white people praising Nelson Mandela, when I sit down and listen or read the history of Nelson Mandela, and right now, whatever is going on between the white supremacy and Africa, I can buy the story of Winnie Mandela. I can buy the story of Julius Malema stating that Nelson Mandela was a sellout. Uhuru Kenyatta, Jomo Kenyatta was a sellout. A lot of leaders who came to power after colonization, most of them were sellout. A lot of them, according to me. According to me, a lot of presidents who came to power, who was given power by the white man, a lot of them were sellout. How can you come out from the prison direct to the seat of power? Jomo Kenyatta came from the prison to power. Julius Nelson came from prison to power. What discussion did you had with these white people in the prison? What discussion did you had with the white supremacists in the prison, with the colonial power? Because I believe it was not all about the people chanting free Nelson Mandela, and it was done. There is something that it was done in the prison. There's something written. There was some agreement that we didn't know. And Nelson Mandela came out of prison and he was given power by the white people, and he forgave everyone during the apartheid. He forgave the white people. He forgave the black people. Everyone was free. Everyone was forgiven from the atrocities they did to the black people. Forgiving is good. But some forgiving, maybe you are being pinched somewhere and be told, go and forgive us, so thee shall live long. So I buy the narrative of selling out the country. I buy the narrative that Nelson Mandela maybe was not the true hero. I buy the narrative of the white people were behind every president that came to power after colonization, starting with my Jomo Kenyatta. The people like Nyerere, the people likes of Mandela. All these presidents that came to power during this time, the ones who came from prison and hold the seat of the presidency, the ones who came from prison and hold the seats of highest level. Like in Kenya, we had Mau Mau, they were fighting, Dedan Kimathi, fighting for freedom. But Dedan Kimathi and all, they were nowhere to be seen there during this agreement. Jomo Kenyatta was there because he was learned. But the true heroes who were fighting for justice, who were fighting for free Africa, who were fighting for the land and children of motherland, they were never on the table of negotiation, most of them. Whatever happened behind the bars during colonization is only the forefathers will know, the spirits know. So when Nelson Mandela went on the table of negotiation, Winnie Mandela was there, the late. And they had what they wanted, like we want the land back. But some of the negotiation that went on the table, it was so much saturated. But because you need your country to be free, you just accept and say yes. And that's why Nelson Mandela told the people of South Africa that the fight is not yet over. Because he knew there is some things about economic growth, there's some things about the future of Africa that are not okay. And that's why he said the fight is not over. Because he knew the words or the agreement he has said for the people of South Africa is not the real agreement that the people needs. Not Nelson Mandela alone, a lot of presidents in Africa. It was not that, people have shouted, free Mandela, come out, go. And then you vote, and then Nelson Mandela become president. But the negotiation and the deals, it's eating South Africa until now. That's why you find some white or some Boers are there. South Africa is their country. I agree with that. But how they behave and how they control the system of South Africa, the people or the black South Africa are not getting what they need to get as the people of South Africa. That's why exploitation is still going on in South Africa. That's my opinion. If Nelson Mandela was a sellout or not a sellout. For me, I think a lot of presidents who came to power after colonization, a lot of them were sellouts. These who have been coming coups and everything, some of them maybe are genuine, but a lot were sellouts. So I stand here firm by supporting what Winnie Mandela said, by supporting what Julius Malema has said about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela is a true hero. And whenever you see white people praising you so much, you are their puppet. You are their fella. You are their darling. And they love how you do the things we are doing in your country. That's what I think. So we are free to talk on the comment section. Tell me, what do you think? Tell me what you think. This is a very sensitive topic. I know a lot of people will say, oh, no, don't do that. He's a hero. He's a hero. But Nelson Mandela said, the fight is not yet over. Because he knew there is a deal he has made that it will eat South Africa for the longest time. It will eat South Africa children for the longest time. There's a deal he made that the white people will benefit from the resources of South Africa more than the black South Africans. That's why he said, we are there, but the fight is not yet over. Tell me your opinion, what do you think of the comment section? And by the way, you can support me by liking my video, commenting, you can send super thanks, but all, join the membership. Until next episode, peace be with you.